xwl in xʷʔam Interbasket. I'm a Seal, Ho-Chunk, and Anishinaabe performing artist. And I played Sia in xʷʔam in the Fire Hall show in 2017 and when we went on tour around BC and Alberta in 2018. xʷʔam at Home was an interactive play about reconciliation, and it offered the audience the opportunity to enter into the play and offer solutions to the problems that were in the show.
The production called xʷʔam was, I think, a very successful initiative, exploring reconciliation beyond words and what are the issues that come up all the time that prevent people from moving forward, to communicate with each other, to heal, to move forward in positive ways.
You know, when I saw that he was going to do a piece on reconciliation, I thought, boy, that would be pretty amazing. And then next thing I knew, we were having a conversation about that, and it became a reality.
Doing the Theater for a Living play was different than other art forms I do because it was scripted as well as improvisational. So that was, and it was also a show created by us and in our own words. So that was what made it really unique. Yeah, I've never done a show where we had people get on stage and improvise with us, and I think that made it even more impactful for audiences.
Not just the cast involved, it's not just the crew involved, it becomes the audience. And to have the audience respond the way they did in such like remarkable praise. Some of the things that people wrote and sent to us, it's just like, it's amazing to have such things mentioned about something that you worked on and you were involved in is very, it was overwhelming at first and then became very humbling. Theater for Living, for me in a nutshell, has been life-changing in that, again, to be able to look at myself and realize that there is so much that I can still do.
The process of creating the show was much different than any other kind of acting experience I've ever had. So we weren't learning a script verbatim. We were like creating a show, creating characters, and I felt much more present on stage because it was so deeply ingrained in my body that I didn't have to remember lines. I was just remembering like who I was.
One day we heard about this play being introduced on reconciliation. And so some of the members asked, well, maybe you want to go check it out. Because one of the things that, as residential school warriors, some of us are really concerned about, and I don't speak for all warriors, but some of us are concerned about the stereotyping of us. I applied, and I was totally surprised to be selected for an interview. And I went for the interview process with David Diamond. I decided I was going to just be myself. And so I went to the interview, and I'm talking with David, and I'm checking him out, you know, and I don't know to this day if he knows, but I guess he'll know eventually. But he's asking me questions, and I'm asking him questions. And I was just like so, like, wow, just blown away, you know, that a non-Indigenous person was doing this. Like, This was my first experience. Usually it was talking for us, like I said, about us, down to us, etc., etc. But this was different. I really, really liked it. I really liked the approach. And so I did a lot of praying. And lo and behold, I got selected, and I don't know to this day how that happened. But I was very, 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 very happy.
I played a character named Doug. In many ways, Doug was the most problematic character, at least for a lot of people. Doug is obviously a settler Canadian who, although he's very good friends with an Indigenous man and has a half Indigenous adopted son, does not understand the interiorized colonial way that he thinks about things. And he's one of those people that we all are familiar with, and sometimes we are those people who, if someone said, I think you're maybe a bit of a racist, he would be astonished that someone would consider him to be a racist. One of the things that's always attracted me to the theater, to art, is the chance to say things that people are thinking but people aren't saying. And so I certainly didn't relish having Doug's attitude towards the world, because there are things about his attitude that I really disagree with and make me uncomfortable. But I also knew that Doug didn't just fall to earth from outer space. He was created, he raised in a certain milieu. He has his own reasons, and David always says this when he's joking too, right? Each one of these characters is doing things for their own good reasons. They think they're doing something that is right. And so trying to make Doug as real, as human a person, and to deeply understand what his beliefs are anchored in. What is the lived experience that his worldview is anchored in?
So the tour was so hard, but so incredible, because we got to go to some really remote communities, and some of our audience were just mostly Indigenous people, and then we'd go into big cities like Edmonton and Calgary and Vancouver, and the show would be totally different there. So it was also amazing because I got the opportunity to bring the show to Penticton, which is my home community, and my whole family got to see, so that was really amazing. And I really loved connecting to the other performers and the crew. And I think this kind of show is important to take on tour, because a lot of smaller communities don't get to see these kind of shows because they don't live in urban centers. So that was great to have xʷʔam go into these smaller communities and have like mostly Native people there. That's so cool.
I was at, I think it was the second performance of the show, which I think was a very successful show. And the interventions in the power play were brilliant. Clearly, the content of the initial play touched people in very profound ways and motivated many in the audience to think deeply about their own histories, about their present circumstances, and about what might happen to move forward in a positive way. And I think everyone in the room came away with a sense of how positive change could happen, with concrete ideas about how people might move forward.
Oh, I don't know, just so many mixed emotions. I loved it, of course. I loved the final version. I really loved it. I was sorry some parts did not make the play. Some parts I really, really wanted into the play. But I just thought it was spectacular. I loved the opening. I thought, wow, David, that's artistic. I loved everyone's performances, was really, really good.
There's a lot of ways to divide up my life, but in a certain angle, there is my life before xｗʔam and my life after xWʔam. It really is that much of a marker in my life. I wouldn't have ended up in xWʔam if I wasn't already deeply concerned and wanted to be deeply engaged in questions around reconciliation. But since then, the great gifts of the learning I was able to do through my interactions with all of the people in the initial workshop and my castmates, Indigenous, non-Indigenous, but particularly, I have to say, the chance to get to sit and learn from residential school survivors and other Indigenous people. There's just a lens that I have on the country that I live in and my place in it and my responsibilities trying to help the country move forward, that it's a defining thing in my life today. And it's led to a greater level of activism in my own life around things like the pipeline, that will never happen, by the way. And just indigeneity on the university campus where I work. I just have a different lens than I had to look at the world before I did xWʔam.
I'm so happy I got to work with Theater for Living and David Diamond and his whole amazing team. I saw his show, Maladjusted, which was about the mental health care system, years before xWʔam, and after that I was like, I need to work with David Diamond, and I'm so happy it happened. And I just really believe in the work that he did and is doing, and I love how he's taken a method and really made it his own, and he's just creating these amazing spaces for people to have hard conversations, which is amazing.